Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over the New York Giants offense in 2021 and what to expect from them next season. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and let's dive right into it. Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Giants offense in 2021, but before we get started, let's talk about their offense last season. And we got to start by talking about Daniel Jones. We got to start by talking about their leaders. Daniel Jones had just shy of 3,000 passing yards to lead the team. Rushing yards, Wayne Gallman led the team with just shy of 700 rushing yards. Remember, Saquon Barkley was injured, I think, week 2 against Chicago. I don't remember if that was week 2 or week 3. And then Darius Slayton led them in receiving yards with 750 receiving yards. So overall, pretty tough year offensively for the New York Giants. And when we look at where they ranked compared to other teams in the NFL, you can see that it was a pretty tough season if this will ever decide to load. Team offense per game, that's basically points per game here. The Giants were near the bottom of the league. Actually, they were the second worst team in the league in points per game with 17.5 points per game. Really tough season offensively for them. And then passing offense-wise, they ranked 29th in the NFL. And then rushing offense-wise, they were not much better, although they were closer to average in that regard. They were number 19th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. But when we look at their depth chart for a second, sorry for my lagging computer. When we look at the depth chart for a second, you gotta see that there's talent on this offense now. Daniel Jones doesn't have any excuses, right? They invested this offseason in getting talent around him, bringing Kenny Golladay, bringing Kadarius Toney, bringing in John Ross. Making sure that, they could add some depth at tight end with Kyle Rudolph. They have depth on this team, but it all starts with Daniel Jones. And we'll talk about Daniel Jones for a sec to open up today's video. Daniel Jones, coming out of Duke, first round pick back in 2019. This is going to be his third full NFL season coming up. And this is a make it or break it year for him. To be honest, he was a little bit injured last year. Couldn't actually play the full season. And you can see the stats, just shy of 3,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, not a good year whatsoever for Daniel Jones. And part of that was, he didn't have weapons. He didn't have Saquon Barkley for most of the year. But at the same time, he's got to show up and he's really got to turn it up too. He can't be having another lackluster season with the targets and the guys around him. But what Daniel Jones does really well is he really utilizes his weapons effectively. And I think that when he gets the ball out quickly and he gets the ball underneath to his faster receivers, that's when he really does well. Also, his ability to escape the pocket and to use his legs to run outside the pocket, that's another part of his game that I think needs to be utilized more often in that Giants offense. And look for the Giants to use that. That was something that was successful last year when he was doing it, and it really helped open up the playbook a little bit. So I would expect Daniel Jones to really utilize his legs more, but he's got to have a big year. And the reason he's got to have a big year is because just look at the weapons that are in New York. Obviously, Saquon Barkley's back. That'll definitely help the run game and Daniel Jones in general. But look at the wide receivers on this team and look at the tight end on this team. The tight ends on this team. This team is deep and loaded with talent on skill positions. So Daniel Jones, it's not like he doesn't have anyone he's throwing to. It doesn't like he doesn't have anyone in the backfield to help him. He's got tons of support, so he needs a big season if he wants to keep his job for the long run. Now, though, let's move on to Saquon Barkley. As I said, Barkley was injured in basically the second game of the season. He ended up finishing the season with 34 rushing yards, no rushing touchdowns, 6 catches for 60 yards. So really, basically last season didn't happen. The year before, he got injured too halfway through the season, I think. I think that was a high ankle sprain for him, and, he struggled for the rest of the season. But, 2018 was his rookie season. That was the year where he absolutely went off. But when healthy, Barkley is a top 5 running back in the NFL. He's got explosiveness. He's got the ability to catch the ball in the backfield. He's a complete running back, and he's a dynamic running back in open space. But also, he's a power running back. He picks up touchdowns, but he's fast. He's physical. He works through contact. He's a full running back that the Giants really run their offense through. His health is going to be a massive part of this Giants offense. And seemingly every single year over the past 5 or so years, the Giants have struggled with injuries on offense. I remember a few years ago when basically every single one of their receivers went down with injury. Last year, obviously, they had injury struggles, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. So injuries on the offside of the football is nothing new for the Giants. Also, Engram has struggled with injuries in the past few seasons. So overall, Barkley, as long as he stays on the field, he's a top running back in the NFL, and he's going to be a massive part of this run game. They did lose Wayne Gallman this offseason, who was actually pretty solid for the last few weeks of the season in the absence of Saquon Barkley. But overall, Barkley and his comeback is going to be really important for this Giants offense if they really want to get some run game going. More importantly, though, let's move to the wide receivers. When we talk about the wide receivers, we got to start with the big addition in Kenny Golladay. Golladay, after having some really good seasons in Detroit, obviously didn't play well last year because of injuries. He was on the sideline for most of the season due to injuries. But when healthy, he is arguably a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. 20 catches last year, 338 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. This guy is an elite 50-50 jump ball receiver. He's an elite touchdown weapon, and overall, he's an elite wide receiver. His length, his size, his athletic ability, but more importantly, his route running ability and his speed at 6'4", 215 pounds makes him really special in open space, makes him super hard to defend, and his lankiness makes him so great at catching the 50-50 ball. He's exactly what this Giants offense needs, especially with the other receivers they have on the roster. He works really well with those other receivers too. Look at Sterling Shepard for a sec. Sterling Shepard has had injury question marks over the past few seasons too, but when healthy, he's really solid. 66 catches last year, 656 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. He's fast, he's athletic, he accelerates well, and when healthy, he's a solid wide receiver too. That's what he is. I really like his use of speed in his route running game, but more importantly, I like what he's able to do underneath. As you can see, 9.9 average yards per catch. He's working those underneath routes. He's working in the intermediate passing game. And I really like what he's able to do at the line of scrimmage to win quickly and create space for himself. And that's similar to Darius Slayton. I actually think Darius Slayton does it slightly better. He ended up leading the Giants in receiving yards last year, 50 catches, 3 touchdowns, 15 average yards per carry. A little bit more of a deep threat too, but he's really able to win at the line of scrimmage, really has that strong burst and acceleration, and it really allows to create space for himself. And that's the thing with this Giants wide receivers, they have speed. And they've added speed to this roster. Obviously, Kadarius Toney is fast. The first-round pick out of University of Florida, picked up 21st overall in this year's draft. He's much more of a gadget player, too. You can line him up in a variety of areas in the slot, on the outside. He can beat you with speed. And although he's not a super polished route runner, I think that him, as well as John Ross, who they picked up in free agency this offseason, really add a dynamic of speed and explosiveness to this offense. And that's exactly what the Giants were missing. They've got explosiveness and they've got big play potential now. Obviously with Golladay as a jump ball receiver, but also with Kadarius Toney and John Ross as your speed guys who can take the top of the defense. And then Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton both have speed. And their speed is much more of a route running speed, but more or less, Daniel Jones has options. He has weapons, and at this point, they have too many good wide receivers on this roster. They're really 4 receivers deep with a solid 5th receiver in John Ross. At this point, they've got a lot of talent at wide receiver, and I think even if a receiver goes down, they've got depth too. So Jones has he's got no excuses. He's got to show up this year. And then at the tight end position, it starts with Evan Engram, who, he's kind of an interesting player for this Giants team. You see 109 targets, 63 catches, 654 receiving yards, and a touchdown. You think those are good stats, but, if you really watch Giants games last year, you could see Evan Engram struggled with missing catches. He struggled with his hands, but overall, what Evan Engram is he's athletic, and he once again uses his speed to create separation, to be athletic, to be a threat all the time. It's just, can he catch the football? That's the real question. And it sounds like kind of funny here, but really that's the issue with Evan Engram. It's, can he catch the football? If he can catch the football, he can make plays after the catch. It's really just making sure he secures the football. That's been a huge issue. Kyle Rudolph, been a veteran tight end for the past 10 years for the Vikings, basically at this point. And he'll add a little bit more depth to another weapon that they can use in the red zone. Just a consistent yards after the catch, possession tight end, kind of different to Evan Engram, who's much more of an explosive guy. But they have got a great mix of weapons on this Giants offense that I think could take this Giants offense to the next level. If Daniel Jones has a good season because of the weapons there, then this could be a top 15 offense in the NFL. However, I think there's 2 main issues. And one issue is I don't really trust Daniel Jones fully, but more importantly, the other issue is the offensive line, which is absolutely horrendous. Obviously, they drafted Andrew Thomas in the last offseason, and he did not really work out at left tackle. I still think he'll end up starting over Nate Solder. Here, Nate Solder's over Andrew Thomas, but neither of those guys I'm super confident in it playing left tackle. It'll probably be Andrew Thomas. Also, I'm pretty sure we'll see Will Hernandez play probably right guard. We'll see Shane Lemieux, Nick Gates. Matt Peart was actually good last year, but I do not like the interior of this offensive line whatsoever. Shane Lemieux, not good. Nick Gates, pretty below average center. And Will Hernandez, I mean, he's fine, but he's definitely overrated. So I don't like the tackle positions really. Matt Peart's okay. I still think he's a below average player though for a starter. So overall, this offensive line might be one of the worst in football. It might be a top 5 worst offensive line in football. So that concerns me too, especially with an injury-prone team at running back, at wide receiver, at quarterback. Having a bad offensive line scares me. So that's my main concern here. I don't really think I think this Giants offense will be better next year, but I don't think it will take that massive stride that we've been hoping for over the past few years. And one, I don't think Daniel Jones is really the future at quarterback for the Giants, but he's got a real opportunity this year to really develop with the guys that are on the roster. I mean, when you bring Kenny Golladay, when you bring Kadarius Toney, when you have Saquon Barkley back, there are no excuses. You've got weapons, you've got options. Daniel Jones absolutely has to perform, and I think we'll see a lot of speed on this offense. We'll see this offense liking to take the top off of defense, but it really relies on, can Daniel Jones deliver the football in the right places? That'll be the success story for this Giants team. But in reality, I think this will be about the 20th best offense in the NFL, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that they'll improve just because of the talent they have back and just the players they have on the roster. I don't think that they'll be 31st in the NFL in points per game, but I would not take them as a top half offense moving into 2021. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.